back to the channel today. We'll be exploring the dramatic events of the June 23rd episode of Beyond the Gates. Get ready for an emotionally charged journey as unexpected secrets are gradually revealed at Fairmont Crest Hospital. While Nicole and Ted are by Kat's side after her life-or-death surgery, a shocking truth related to DNA could change everything. Meanwhile, Tomas seeks help from the Dupree family. Martin and Eva face overwhelming guilt, and Kat experiences a strange phenomenon during her recovery. Join us now as we go over all the noteworthy plot points. Okay, let's assume everyone is lying. I mean, not exactly lying, but deliberately withholding the absolute, unfiltered truth from themselves and each other. Because when we really sit down and look at Kat, and Colby Nixon is just delivering an absolute masterclass in subtle agony here when we look at her making this ultimate supreme sacrifice by agreeing to donate a massive portion of her own liver to save Eva Amber Michele. There's a logical gap here that I can't ignore. The show wants us to take this at face value, a heroic sister saving another. But the notes we have specifically point out that Kat didn't really do this strictly for Eva. She did it for her father, Ted. She stepped into the line of fire onto the operating table because Ted was desperate and literally no one else could or would do it. If we look at it as an investigation, that character is extremely suspicious. Actually, no, that sounds too serious. Kat isn't a villain or a suspect in a crime, but her psychological motivations are highly suspect. Why is she the one who always has to bleed to keep this family together? Is she desperately trying to buy Ted's unconditional love with pieces of her own body? I think the film is giving clues in a very subtle way. It's not what the characters say that matters, it's what they're avoiding. Kat is avoiding the terrifying reality that she might not wake up. She is suppressing her own terror just to be the perfect daughter for Ted. And Ted is surely going to be eternally grateful, right? I mean, basically, she is doing the one thing no one else in the world could manage. But wait, hold on a minute. Let's look at the hospital waiting room. According to the June 23rd teasers for Beyond the Gates, Nicole and Ted are sitting there, keeping this agonizing vigil over their daughter. They are waiting, hoping, praying for good news. And despite the absolute mountain of toxic history and bad blood between them, they are united. They are a united front for the sake of the kids. But then I think again, how fragile is that unity? It's a glass house built on a massive fault line. This is where my brain starts jumping between ideas, and it gets really messy. What if, right in the middle of this sterile, suffocating hospital waiting room, while Kat is literally sliced open on an operating table fighting for her life, a horrifying family secret drops? We are dealing with an organ transplant here. That means endless blood tests, HLA tissue typing, genetic markers, and comprehensive medical records. What if those meticulous medical files reveal an absolute bombshell? Kat is not Ted's biological daughter. Oh my God, just stop and process that for a second. If the test results or the medical charts expose the fact that Kat does not actually share Ted's DNA, who is going to panic first? Is it Nicole, who might have carried this explosive secret for decades? Or is it Ted, whose entire reality is about to be shattered under the harsh fluorescent lighting of a hospital corridor? Let's analyze Ted's potential reaction, because this is really complicated. Ted is sitting there, his heart in his throat, terrified of losing the girl who is risking everything to save his family. If a doctor walks out and accidentally drops the paternity bomb because of a blood incompatibility or genetic anomaly on the chart, how does a human being even survive that? Will he feel this overwhelming, transcendent gratitude that this girl who doesn't even share his blood sacrificed all for him? Or will he be completely crushed by the reality that she isn't his biological child? I hate that I understand why they did that, the writers. I mean, they are setting up the most brutal emotional paradox imaginable. Ted should be falling to his knees in reverence for Kat, but human ego is a fragile, destructive thing. The pain of the betrayal, the lie Nicole told, might completely blind him to Scott's sacrifice. No, actually, wait, could Ted really be that cruel? Could the sting of a paternity lie make him unintentionally push Scott away right at the exact moment she needs him the most? I mean, not exactly, but something like that. He might just emotionally shut down. He might withdraw into his own trauma, leaving Scott waking up to a cold, distant father instead of the loving, grateful dad she literally risked her life for. Strange, really strange. The whole thing is strange. You have a young woman trying to physically cement her place in a family, only for science to rip up her membership card while she is unconscious. It's a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions, and I am terrified of how Ted will handle it. He might just break completely. And what about Cog? Let's put ourselves in her hospital bed for a second. When she finally opens her eyes groggy, in agonizing pain, expecting to see her father's tearful, loving face, what happens if she learns the truth? What if she wakes up and realizes the man she loves so fiercely, the man she just gave an organ to, might not be her real father? How does a person even begin to process that level of identity theft? Would she feel like her massive sacrifice was entirely meaningless? Like, I gave up my liver, I risked death, to prove I am a true member of this family, and it turns out my entire existence in this family is a lie. I think she would be completely devastated. The psychological trauma would far outweigh the physical pain of the surgery. Or maybe not, I don't know. Maybe she looks at Ted and says, blood doesn't matter. I chose you, but this is a drama, so they won't make it that easy. Will Ted be able to continue loving her exactly as he did before the revelation? I want to say yes, but the seeds of doubt are planted. The betrayal of the mother often bleeds onto the child in these stories. If Ted pushes her away, Cod will feel so incredibly isolated. She will feel like a spare part that was used and discarded. It's sickening to think about. But it's such brilliant storytelling. The conflict is just so intense, so raw. While all this chaotic family implosion is potentially happening at the hospital, let's shift gears and look at Tomas. Tomas is leaning heavily on the Dupree family for support. Why the Duprees? Maybe it doesn't matter, but I noticed that he didn't go to his own immediate circle first. He goes to the Duprees. Tomas is deeply in love with Cot. He is pacing, he is anxious, he is just a raw nerve of hope and terror. His admiration for her is peaking right now. He sees her immense willingness to sacrifice herself, and it just reinforces how deeply kind and selfless she is. All he wants is to see her survive this horrific ordeal and come home to the people who love her. Including him, he is literally the anchor of pure, uncomplicated love in this entire messy scenario. But wait, if Tomas is putting Cot on this pedestal of absolute purity and goodness right now, how is he going to react if the family explodes? If Cot wakes up broken, rejected by Ted, and spiritually crushed, Tomas is going to have to pick up all those shattered pieces. Will he be strong enough to hold her together? I think he will try. But Tomas is just a guy who loves a girl. He isn't equipped to handle a multi-generational paternity lie wrapped in a medical emergency. His reliance on the Duprees shows he is already feeling overwhelmed and out of his depth. He needs a village just to get through the waiting period. Okay, I know I just said the opposite about focusing only on the hospital drama, but listen to me. We have to talk about Martin and Eva. They are both absolutely drowning in guilt, and it is tearing them apart. Let's look at Martin first. We know from the timeline that Martin has been secretly plotting this massive, potentially disruptive project for after his campaign ends. He sat down with Nicole, trying to casually gauge her reaction, asking if he should take on a bigger project. And Nicole, being the fiercely intuitive mother she is, immediately got suspicious. She literally asked him, "What are you planning, Martin?" Because she knows it could turn his life upside down. So Martin is already carrying this heavy, secret burden of ambition that his mother is actively trying to uncover. But now, on top of this secret project paranoia, Martin is being utterly tormented by guilt over Cott. The notes suggest he is unable to escape this feeling. Why? Is it because, right before Cott made this life-altering choice to save Eva, Martin said some incredibly harsh, unforgivable things to his sister? Yes, that has to be it. He probably lashed out at her, maybe projecting his own stress from his secret ambitions onto her. And now she is on an operating table, possibly dying, and his last words to her were cruel. That kind of guilt will eat a person alive. For Martin, the recent events are just a compounding weight. He is juggling a secret project that could ruin his career, a mother who is breathing down his neck, and the very real possibility that his sister might die believing he hates her. It's a perfect storm of self-destruction. And then there's Eva. The notes ask a very crucial question. Does this mean Eva has woken up after the surgery? Absolutely, yes. If she is actively grappling with guilt, she has to be conscious. She has to be awake in her own hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, realizing the magnitude of what just happened. Eva knows, with absolute certainty, that Cott would never be in this perilous situation if it weren't for her. If Eva hadn't needed the transplant, Cott wouldn't be fighting for her life. But why does Eva blame herself so intensely for the tragedy? Is it just standard survivor's guilt, or is it something more sinister? I think it's deeper. Does Eva believe that her own past decisions, her own mistakes, directly led to her organ failure? Maybe she was reckless. Maybe she ignored medical advice. Maybe she engaged in something of a kind destructive behavior that destroyed her liver. And now she feels immense shame because her past mistakes have literally forced Cott into a life-threatening situation. Eva must feel like a parasite. She feels ashamed because she put Cott in danger. The psychological burden of knowing someone else is paying the physical price for your existence is staggering. Eva is awake, but she is trapped in a prison of her own making. Finally, let's talk about Cott's strange experience. The notes specifically mention that while all this is happening, Cott goes through a strange experience. What in the world could this be? Is she having a near-death experience on the operating table? Does her heart stop? Maybe she finds herself in some sort of liminal space literally beyond the gates. The title of the episode could be a massive clue here. Maybe she crosses over and sees something, or someone she shouldn't. What if she sees a vision of a man who claims to be her real father? That would be a wild, supernatural way to introduce the paternity twist. Or maybe it's not supernatural at all. Maybe her strange experience is a phenomenon called anesthesia awareness. What if she is paralyzed, unable to speak or move, but her mind is awake during the surgery? What if she hears the surgeons talking? What if, in the recovery room, while she is in a twilight state, she overhears Nicole and Ted arguing about the DNA test results? Imagine the horror of that. Hearing that your entire life is a lie, but being trapped in a drug-induced paralysis, unable to react. That would certainly qualify as a strange and deeply traumatizing experience. It would explain why she wakes up completely changed. I mean, basically, the writers have backed every single character into an emotional corner. There are no easy ways out of this. If Cott survives and recovers completely, which I really hope she does, along with Eva, the physical healing will be nothing compared to the emotional fallout. If the paternity secret comes out, it will destroy Ted and Cott's bond. It will vindicate yet alienate Nicole. It will leave Tomas scrambling to save the woman he loves. And Martin and Eva will be left watching the family burn while choking on their own guilt. Strange, really strange. The whole thing is incredibly strange, but I am absolutely hooked. I am constantly doubting my own theories here, but one thing is certain. Life for this family will never, ever be the same after they walk out of those hospital doors.